Okay, welcome everybody to another Holistic Health Hour. This is Dr. Kevin Connors. We have a number of questions to go over. You sent your questions in, and if you haven't and you're watching this, you can feel free to chat your questions in. I can get to that as well, and we'll be able to look at those and get your questions answered. Um, your questions that were sent in, let's get started with those. Okay, first question. Person asks, is there specific hormonal support for somebody on their monthly cycles but has heavy cycles? So, hormonal support with somebody with heavy cycles, you want to look at, first of all, anybody's having any type of hormonal issues, it's best to get tested. So, doing a Dutch test, which is a dried urine hormone test, is the best approach to get all your estrogen and progesterone and testosterone numbers checked, because there's all these intermediate metabolites that you want to look at. If you're having issues with cycles, if you're having issues with getting pregnant, if you're having any type of hormone, if anything you think that is hormonally based, I'm not talking about um, your thyroid, because that should be a separate test. But the Dutch test is the way to go. Getting a Dutch test um, to look at the balance of all those intermediate estrogens and progesterones and androgens. And the Dutch test also gives you an adrenal cortisol profile. That's the thing to get checked first. So before you go into manipulating your hormones, be careful. Anything that you take that's hormonally driven, it isn't just supporting, like a nutrition that's supporting the glands. If you're doing something that is hormonal in itself, all your hormones work on a negative feedback loop. So if you're taking DHEA, that works on a negative feedback loop, and that will basically shut down production of DHEA in the adrenal glands. It's a common supplement that's out there that's used by a lot of practitioners, people with adrenal fatigue, but you got to be careful taking that because that will shut down your adrenals. So the best thing to do whenever you're having any hormonal issues is get tested. Thyroid tests, so your thyroid doesn't specifically control your estrogen and progesterone. It's a good idea to get that checked on everybody on a regular basis anyhow. So if you're in one of our courses, do our complete wellness panel. That gives you a complete metabolic profile and a complete CBC with differential. Some other things that I like to look at that can point to different health patterns, and it gives you a complete thyroid profile. So a complete thyroid profile, remember, is not just your TSH, T3, and T4. It's T3, T4 free, T3 free, T4 reverse, T3, TSH, thyroglobulin antibodies, and TPO antibodies. So you want to look at that whole big picture when you look at your thyroid gland. Next question we had. Hi, Dr. Connors. Do you have experience in how to treat non-melanoma skin cancers? My husband and I both have skin cancer issues on different parts of our bodies, such as our face, scalp, legs, arms, backs, and shoulders. We often use essential oils, castor oil, Lugol solution, which is an iodine, have used lights, eggplant cream, B17 cream. Are you familiar with using methylene blue with red light therapy? And would the Rife machine help? We have one that's different, an F165 model. It's not a true Rife machine, but have not tried it yet for skin cancer. Any idea if this would possibly help? Any recommendation of supplements? We had some experience with getting some of the skin cancers burned out or cut. We would prefer to do something non-invasive at-home treatment. Thank you, dear Dr. Connors. Long question. Okay, so so there's three main types of skin cancer. Melanoma is the most serious. That can metastasize, that can be deadly. So melanoma isn't something that you necessarily want to play with. You want to make sure you get that looked at by a professional. I'm also not a big fan of getting melanoma cut out. Still treating it topically seems to be the best method. So it will help prevent metastasis. The other two types are basal cell and squamous cell. So obviously, I'm just observing. 99% chance what we're talking about with this question is squamous cell. So squamous cell is, or excuse me, basal cell. Squamous cell can be just as dangerous and just as deadly. And typically, you're not going to get all these spots all over your body. Where you're going to get all the spots all over your body is with basal cell. Now, some people are uh, so to have the husband and wife both have multiple basal cell cancers um, is concerning a little bit, because some people can genetically be more predisposed to having more basal cell cancers. What are the cause of basal cell cancers? So um, a lot of times you'll see in the literature that the sun is blamed for skin cancer in general. Um, that is only partially true. Where the sun comes into play is if you're getting your skin burns on a regular basis, meaning, let's say you live or you travel to Florida and you spend your days out in the sun all the time and you're getting, really very, very tan. You can be getting these microburns to your skin, and those any danger to the skin where you're killing skin cells, you can actually, you know, damage some cells. So you're not actually killing them, you're damaging them. That could damage the DNA and cause rapid replication into a basal cell. So that could cause a squamous cell, that could cause a melanoma. So it's burning, damaged skin. So it's not sun that causes skin cancer, but it's getting burns, sun burns. So the sun can cause it if you're allowing yourself to get burns. Also, when a person is using uh, over-the-counter suntan lotion that is full of chemicals, those are known to be cancerous causing chemicals. So I'm not in favor of those. Make sure you're using a natural um, a sun protective if you're out in the sun and you have issues with basal cell. But my concern is that you two people in the family that are not genetically related, a husband and wife that are not genetically related, and they're both getting, numerous basal cell tumors. First of all, my first question would be, do you know beyond a shadow of doubt that these are basal cell tumors? Because you could have skin discolorations that are not basal cell cancers. So a basal cell cancer, you can Google what a picture would look like. Typically, it's going to be a little shiny. It's fairly easy to diagnose a basal cell versus a possible squamous cell or melanoma looks very different. So um, if you've said, I've been to a dermatologist, they've diagnosed these as basal cell, the ones we've had cut off, we've had pathology reports, and they're basal cell. If you're getting multiple basal cell cancers from two people in the family that are not genetically related, my concern would be other things that you're exposed to. Because, again, causes of skin cancer can be burns, skin burns, but also causes of skin cancer can have an inside out cause to them too. So, are there, is it a water source that both people in the family that are exposed to? Are you exposed to heavy metals? Are you exposed to mycotoxins? Getting some of those tests done would be wise. Instead of just constantly treating the cancer, you're digging to the reason why that this might be occurring, and figuring that out might be of help to you. So I would suggest that you investigate that. Short of that, what are some other alternative treatments for basal cell? I think you've labeled most of them here. These are things that we have done in the past. You could put castor oil. We have not done Lugol's solution, which is an iodine, but that is a possibility. The eggplant cream is a topical cream that I think you can still buy on Amazon. I think it's made in Australia or something like that. I've played with that a little bit in the past. B17 cream, we sell that. That's a good product that can be beneficial. Using I've had people use essential oils, especially oregano oil on basal cells, and that has helped with a number of people. We have a curcumin cream for our patients, which is just a cream with turmeric in it. And then I think we do some blood root in it. I don't remember what else we have in that curcumin cream. We mix that up for patients that they've done that on basal cell tumors. To have them surgically excised does not cause, any negative effects, because basal cell typically is not going to metastasize. You're not going to have to worry about a systemic basal cell cancer. So I don't have the issues with that if a person does want to have them surgically excised. Of course, you got them on your face and things like that. It's not always pleasant nor appropriate as far as not leaving scars as with surgery goes. So if you can do a topical solution on them, the better. Again, my big thing would be digging to the reason why, and doing some investigation through maybe running some labs, run a mycotox test, run glyphosate tests on each one of you. Those would be common causes, common pictures. Run heavy metal tests, though they're not the greatest. It's not the easiest thing to test, not as accurate as some of the other things. Just to see if there's a familial cause. So remember, there can be a hereditary issue in a person's health, and then there can be a familial issue. Everybody in the family is sick. Well, is everybody in the family sick because of your genes? Well, most likely not. But is everybody in your family sick because you're all drinking the same water, you're all eating the same food, you're all living in the same moldy house, you're all, it's familial issues that are causing your problems, meaning exposure to the same poisons, toxins, foods, whatever it is. So you want to investigate that a little bit. Okay, next question. Let me get my cursor over here. What's the difference between ivermectin and fenbendazole? I've been using fenbendazole, want to try ivermectin also. So these are medications. So the fenbendazole that is typically used, so I can't make a lot of comments on this. I think this person is talking about cancer. So there is a fenbendazole treatment for cancer. There is an ivermectin treatment for cancer. There's documented evidence that these things can be beneficial for somebody with cancer. So I can't make a lot of comments on that because this is a medication, but I can encourage you to give them a try. These are, medications that have been out for decades and decades and decades without giving, very few side effects. So it's not something that would endanger anybody to take this thing. Typically, the recommended dosage for cancer with fenbendazole is the same dosage you could give a 10-pound dog. Now, fenbendazole is typically a dog dewormer, a cat dewormer. So it's an anti-parasitic medication, and it can be purchased over the counter. And the dosage that's typically recommended is what's given for a small dog. So there's no danger in or harm in taking it. It's not necessarily a high enough dose that's going to take care of all a person's parasites if they have parasites. They may want to use some natural things too, but if they're taking it for cancer, you're not taking it for parasites. You're taking it for cancer because it affects the cancer cell. Ivermectin as well, it can be used that way too. Next question is, I don't know if it's a cancer question or not. How often do I need to do coffee enemas? Because we recommend people that don't have cancer to do coffee enemas. Certainly we recommend people that have cancer to do coffee enemas, but it can be beneficial for people with any type of chronic disease. So what's the benefit of doing coffee enemas is really to stimulate liver detox pathways. So, and doing so by stimulating the parasympathetic nervous system. So remember, your autonomic nervous system is your automatic nervous system, and it controls basically all your functions of everything in your body. So all your organs are controlled by your autonomic nervous system, and you don't have to think about it. You don't have to think about your livering or your kidney. You don't have to know what it does, right? So those functions take place because of the deep part of your brain communicating through your cranial nerves to your organs to tell those organs what to do. That's part of your automatic or autonomic nervous system. And you have two parts of it, your sympathetics, where you heard of as your fight or flight mechanism, and your parasympathetics, which are your calming and relaxing and detoxifying and your healing part of the autonomics. And coffee enemas are stimulating that part of the autonomics. I'm curious whether I should be taking iron is the next question. So whether a person should be taking iron or not really depends on their complete blood count. So their CBC part of their blood test is how you would determine whether a person should be taking iron or not. So there are several different types of anemia. One type of anemia is anemia where you have deficiency, iron deficiency anemia. And those people can be taking iron. Now, you have to take other things into consideration as well. If on your CBC, you should have also requested on your CBC that you also tested for ferritin. Now, when ferritin is low, that can be a sign of deficiency as well. You would not treat the ferritin low if your red blood cells were within normal limits. But if your red blood cells are low, your RDW is high, and other signs of iron deficiency are there. But if your ferritin is elevated, then you don't give iron. So you have to treat it some other way, but you don't want to give iron if you have elevated ferritin. You know you have an inflammatory process going on and you have to dig to that. However, just because you have anemia doesn't mean that you should go, even if it's iron deficiency anemia, it doesn't mean you should go and treat it with iron. Like anything, you need to dig to find out, why do I have anemia? So are you bleeding? Maybe it's just excess blood from you have heavy periods. Well, you need to dig to why that is and solve that. You don't just treat things with supplements, nor should you just treat things with medication without figuring out why and solving that and the answer to that why first. However, if you come to that decision and you're going to use iron, then you have to look at all those other factors. Also, if you do have cancer, taking iron is an issue, can be an issue too, because iron can be gobbled up by cancer. Because there is another type of anemia called anemia of chronic disease, where stage 4 cancer patients will end up showing anemia, and then you want to couple anemia with artemisinin as well. So if the cancer is going to couple the iron intake with artemisinin as well, because if the cancer is going to gobble up the iron, you may try to, artemisinin is an herb that tends to be carried with iron, and it can be carried into the cancer cell to help kill it. So that could be beneficial. All right, thank you for joining. I think those are the only questions that we had come in this week. Remember, you can go to our website and you can ask questions in the box on the Holistic Health website. Go just to our Cutter's Clinic website or our Hope for Lyme website, and you'll see the links to that Holistic Health Live website where you could ask questions and get your questions answered, and join us and see recordings of all our Holistic Health Hour recordings that we've done, and ask the questions, and you can watch for the answers later. All right, thanks so much. Bye-bye.